This lesson, we will talk about subdivisions and the regulations in place that ensure development follows a certain set of guidelines to protect and promote the general welfare, safety, and health of a community and its residents. Today, every state has standards for subdivision developments. Before we talk about how regulations ensure an orderly development, let's talk about what a subdivision is. Usually, a developer or real estate investor group buys a large tract of land suitable for dividing into smaller properties to build individual houses on. But it isn't as simple as just clearing a piece of land and erecting homes. Land ordinances dictate the development of subdivisions. Developers must first create a written diagram, sometimes called a subdivision plan, that details the land division and proposed property improvements. Depending on whether the land is in an incorporated or an unincorporated area, a county commissioner's court, zoning office, or other government entity has to approve the plan. Proposed developments must follow standards established by the Area Comprehensive Plan, although master plans may be modified to include approved subdivision plats and allow recording. To understand why subdivision regulations have been adopted across the country, let's look at how a subdivision is created. The developer starts by ordering a survey of the land. The survey is a foundation for recreating a plat map. Remember, a plat must be approved by the local Department of Building before any improvement and construction can be started. Subdivision regulations govern the land development process through each phase. For example, every residential lot must have safe, efficient access. So developers must plan for roadways, utility infrastructure, and drainage systems to keep the area safe after heavy rains. These improvements must be carefully planned to ensure adequate water is available and that the local government won't have to bear unnecessary financial burdens constructing or maintaining safe living conditions for current or future residents. Local ordinances may require the developer to assume all cost of roadway repair and maintenance for several years to make sure the quality of the materials and workmanship are adequate to protect the local government from financial risks. The developer must also consider waste removal and wastewater treatment. The subdivision plat details the right-of-way and easements necessary to provide these services via streets, alleys, and other types of access. The plat also establishes a means of transferring ownership to the first residents in an area, as well as future buyers. The developer is typically responsible for overseeing and assuming the financial burden of constructing all streets, roadways, alleys, sidewalks, public squares, and designating community green spaces, such as parks, nature trails, and other non-residential lots facing or adjacent to these improvements. Prior to building any homes, the subdivision developers usually connect each lot to existing local utilities, water, and sewage systems. To recap what we have covered so far on creating a subdivision plat, a plat provides a visual layout of the proposed subdivision and individual tracts within the subdivision. It also identifies the total acreage for the development and the approximate size of each residential tract, as well as areas dedicated for public use, such as sidewalks, alleys, and green spaces. Plus, the map shows the location of both private and public roadways in proximity to the subdivision. Developers may spend months or even years preparing a large tract of land for subdividing. For example, deciding where to put roadways is only the first step. You must also consider what type of roadway will best serve the community based on anticipated traffic patterns within the subdivision, and whether arterial roadways, main highways that provide access throughout a city or county, will be impacted by the new development. Most governing agencies require all streets within multifamily, commercial, and single-family subdivisions and any roads that will intersect with existing county roads be paved. The width of the roadway is determined by the type and placement within a subdivision. Variations in width are often impacted by current utility rights-of-way and drainage requirements. However, developers must consider whether shoulders should allow for widening roadways in the future if traffic patterns change or surrounding area development creates a larger volume. Subdivision regulations even dictate what type of materials may be used to build streets and roads. While we are talking about roads, this is a good time to mention a few other things governed by subdivision regulations. Think about all the things you see as you drive through a subdivision. Ornamental, also known as decorative, landscaping, and irrigation of public green spaces are addressed in subdivision regulations. Most counties don't allow any landscaping that may interfere with line of sight when traveling roadways. So, subdivision entrances must be designed to provide a clear view of traffic entering and exiting a community. Developers are also responsible for creating safe roads, so traffic signs and guard posts are covered along with street sign names, reflectors, and speed bumps. And each of these items has specific guidelines for size, shape, and color in most counties. Street signs may have a minimum and maximum height, as well as dictates about whether or not letters should be uppercase or lowercase. And every subdivision must install approved traffic stop signs and information signs, such as the deaf child signs seen in an area where children with hearing deficiencies live. Driveways, which may be built before or after houses are erected, must not block drainage systems. Engineers typically provide advice about culvert placement, size, and type to ensure all driveways are user-friendly and safe. Subdivision regulations provide information about the minimum length and width of paved driveways and how they connect to paved roads to ensure that no part of the drive is built on a utility easement or right-of-way. Even mailbox placement and design may be governed by subdivision regulations, state transportation standards, and other restrictions. Not every subdivision regulation is imposed by municipalities or government agencies. For example, developers create restricted covenants for a variety of reasons. A developer could plan a community that will become subject to homeowner association bylaws and rules. Or, lots may be sold with deed restrictions that establish how the property can be used while prohibiting certain commercial activity. Easement can provide access or restrict improvements to preserve green spaces and wildlife habits. Developer-imposed restrictions typically include aesthetic components that enhance or beautify the community while maintaining a common architectural style. House sizes, setback lines, and certain landscaping rules help developers shape the feel, tone, and appearance of the subdivision. Every subdivision develops a unique rhythm and culture. When reviewing a subdivision plan, The local authority evaluates the document for some essential elements. Will the subdivision support the economic, social, and physical needs of current and future residents? Does the municipality have the resources, fire and emergency services, medical centers, water and emergency reserves, and finances to support a new subdivision? A well-designed subdivision plan is science-based. Developers use demography, the study of populations, to predict how births, deaths, migration, and aging will impact housing needs in the near and long term. Oversight commissions and zoning officials want to see evidence in the plan that developers have considered population dynamics. And then there are other regulations that directly and indirectly influence building the houses once the lots and easements have been established. If the project managers anticipate that future owners may use Federal Housing Authority, FHA, financing, the land and improvements must meet the agency guidelines and regulations. And every new development must comply with local zoning ordinances, which may include lot size, building footprint, minimum parking space per capita, and building height requirements. As you can see, developers spend more time planning a subdivision than actually building the homes on individual lots. According to the 2012 Census Bureau Survey of Construction, on average, it takes about 5 to 8 months to build a single-family home ready for occupancy after you receive the building permit. Getting approval for subdividing a large tract in some municipalities could take years. This tells us that dividing a large piece of land into individual lots for sale, development, or transfer is not a speedy process. Subdivision regulations ensure future owners, surrounding neighborhoods, and the local municipality all benefit from the expansion. Developers may have the initial vision, but it takes dozens, if not hundreds, of people to go from a blank sheet of drafting paper to an approved recorded plat. Subdivision regulations play a vital role in shaping the process for a community that will blossom from concept to completion.